On December 17th, 2023, Johnny Brown murdered Keisha Moore. This horrific murder was part of a pattern of domestic violence by Mr. Brown against women in his life, including Keisha and many past partners. Keisha's death was a devastating tragedy. Yesterday, Mr. Brown was found guilty on one count of first-degree murder, past pattern of domestic abuse, one count of second-degree intentional murder, and one count of second-degree unintentional murder while committing a felony. This verdict comes at the end of a long and complicated prosecution to deliver justice for Keisha Moore. My thoughts are with her family. I'm so sorry for your loss. Keisha's mother, Deborah Moore, asked me to share a statement from her, and I think it's appropriate to begin with her words. We are happy that Keisha got justice, but even happier with how the case was laid out and presented. Thank you to the previous victims who came forward. We hope that they have gotten their power back, and this case brought closure to a lot of women and shed a light on the criminal justice system. Keisha was a valuable member of society. She was everything to us. Keisha was going places and doing things, and had a prominent position in her life. She was a community builder and did a lot for the community. She has a legacy. She was the glue that held our family together, and we will never get that back. The family would like to thank Detective Schroeder and Sergeant Suchta, especially thank Schroeder for his commitment to get justice for Keisha. Thank you to Aaron Lutz and Jacqueline Perez for their hard work and dedication to this case. We are thankful for everyone who put hard work on this case. Thank you. Guilty verdicts on all counts were delivered against Mr. Brown yesterday. Today, the jury found evidence of aggravating factors. Sentencing is set for March 13th. I want to draw attention to a couple of groups of people who made this possible. First, the 8 survivors, and yes, that's right, 8 survivors of Mr. Brown's past domestic violence who came forward to testify. These women showed incredible courage in assisting our prosecution of Mr. Brown, with some traveling great distances to testify in court. Words cannot capture their strength or the value of their contributions in securing yesterday's verdict. The second group is our staff, and honestly, they would like nothing more if I didn't say anything about them. But I think because they want this focus to be on Keisha and her family. But I think it's important to talk about their contributions because that helps us understand the complexity of this case and the work that everybody put in on it. So our trial attorneys were Aaron Lutz and Jackie Perez. They expertly presented this case to the jury, reflecting hours and hours of preparation and resulting in guilty verdicts on all counts. This case represents one instance of literally decades of domestic violence perpetrated by Mr. Brown, ending in the murder of Keisha Moore. The prosecution team presented years of abuse by Mr. Brown with the testimony from 8 of his past victims. They supported these women as they came forward to testify about the domestic violence they experienced, reliving their trauma to help us successfully prosecute this case. The courage of these victim survivors and this outcome provide a powerful example of hope to victims everywhere. Courtney Reed, one of our victim services specialists, supported these victim survivors of Mr. Brown's past domestic violence. Courtney provided consistent support throughout, including as each of them took the stand to relive their trauma and to share their truth. 2 of our office's other victim service specialists supported Keisha's family throughout this case, Chandra Stamper and Lindsay Ellis. They communicated with Keisha's family and provided a steady presence. In the face of unimaginable loss, Chandra and Lindsay ensured that they were never, ever alone. Several of our witness service coordinators, James Nelson, Jennifer Espinoza Segura, and Jessica Immerman, were invaluable in supporting this prosecution. They attended countless trial preparation sessions, worked effectively with key witnesses, and managed the many moving pieces that made an effective trial possible. Nikki Slick coordinated travel and lodging accommodations for the witnesses. Her work alleviated the logistical challenges for the witnesses and allowed them to focus on their testimony. In total, it was the work of nearly 12 staff members collaborating across departments to help make this result possible. I also want to mention Sergeant Suchta and Sergeant Schroeder of the Minneapolis Police Department, whose work on this case made it possible for us to prosecute Mr. Brown. Our ability to successfully prosecute this case is a testament to the strength of the survivors, to the unshakable effort of our staff, and to the work that can be accomplished when justice system partners collaborate effectively. As we come together today to uplift a measure of justice for Keisha Moore, we also cannot and will not forget the victims and families who must wait for justice and closure, if it comes at all. I know many of you have asked questions of our office in recent weeks about Allison Lucier. Because the case involving her death is still open in our office, I can't comment on its details. But I can say throughout, we have been focused on utilizing every available resource to seek justice for Ms. Lucier and her family, as we do in every case that comes to us. And while we are here today to talk about securing justice through prosecution, we must also acknowledge that there are many others like Allison's family who continue to wait. Our hearts are with them. Our efforts continue until every avenue is exhausted. Domestic violence is too common. 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men will experience intimate partner violence at some point in their lives. It is also extremely difficult to escape. Some people may think that ending intimate partner violence is simple. The person can just leave or just call the police. In reality, it is one of the hardest cycles of violence to end. Victims of domestic violence are often economically dependent on their abuser. They may share children, and leaving could mean a painful, public, and expensive custody battle. The victim may not have a place to live. Leaving a home without access to safe and affordable housing is a terrible choice for someone to have to make. And of course, victims often deeply care about their abusers. They are not strangers. They may have experienced years of love that turned violent. And for whatever reason, a victim may not want to reach out for help because they do not want their loved one locked up. Intimate partner violence has a devastating impact on victims, their families, and our communities. While we have tools available, like extreme risk protection orders, there is much more work to do. In 2023, statistics from Violence Free Minnesota documented 40 instances of intimate partner homicides in Minnesota, the most that had been recorded in 30 years. Organizations that support victims and survivors of domestic violence need resources. Our office has been a part of helping survivors find that support through our victim services work. We work with several community partners like Violence Free Minnesota and the Minnesota Coalition Against Sexual Assault. Without the work of these providers, many people who experience violence would never have the means to escape. Providing financial, medical, and other assistance to survivors so that they can escape abuse is critical. They need more resources, not less. And yet the current federal administration is going to devastate support for domestic violence. Its federal funding freezes and spending cuts will lead to more violence, and all involved know it. Federal grants have supported housing for victims of domestic violence, job training for victims of interpersonal violence, medical and trauma care, and crisis lines. The federal government is one of the largest funders of programming to help survivors of gender-based and domestic violence. At a time when we should be pushing for more interventions, the federal funding freeze will result in more people trapped in and harmed by domestic violence. I promise this community that the Hennepin County Attorney's Office will do everything we can possibly do to find other resources for those critical organizations that provide support for survivors. And we will continue our work doing everything in our power to address domestic violence. Again, our hearts break for Keisha Moore's family. She deserved better. And we will keep fighting to ensure that survivors of domestic violence have the resources that they need to escape. Thank you. Questions?
What proportion of your office's cases would you say typically involve domestic violence in a given year?
So the question was, what proportion of our office cases involve domestic violence? They are the second highest category of cases that we receive.
And has that increased recently?
Has it increased recently? Okay. The question was, has it increased recently? We do have the data. We'll have to take a look at it, and we can certainly get that to you.
To have 8 women testify, can you put into context how maybe unusual that is, or like the challenges that you face getting survivors to testify in court?
Yes, the question was, having 8 victims testify, was that unusual? Can we talk about the challenges that were faced there? There were actually more victim survivors here, but 8 of them somehow found the courage to fly across the country. They were from all over the country. And to have them come here to help us prosecute, I mean, just imagine, they had to come here and face in court a man who had harmed them in the past. They had to come here in court and talk about tremendous trauma that they had experienced and relive that trauma. So we can't thank the victims, the 8 victims that came forward to help prosecute this case. I don't know that we could have had a successful case without it, but we are extremely thankful for their courage and their willingness to come across the country to talk about what had happened to them.
Is that what was necessary to get the
Past pattern? Yes.
It also says that it's a mandatory life sentence. So like in sentencing, is it sort of just a done deal already? You said there was an aggravating factor of overdose.
Yes, so we filed notice of aggravating factors, 4 different aggravating factors. In general, those are factors that we believe made this even more serious than a case of this nature. The jury heard arguments on those aggravating factors and found all 4 of them to exist. So your question too was, what happens at sentencing on March 13th? Is it just a done deal? Is he going to get sentenced to life? Yes. However, we don't consider sentencing, even when we know the sentence that somebody is going to get, as a done deal, because victim impact is really important. It is the people who are harmed opportunity to get up in court and talk about their loved one and tell the judge what their loss has meant to them. It is their first opportunity to say that in court in front of, in this particular case, Mr. Brown. So it can be extremely important for victims to be able to have that opportunity. And we very much value victim impact, and we are happy that we can create an environment where we can help people, support people while they make those statements.
So Keisha's family will be doing that?
That is up to them. So Keisha's family, the question was, so Keisha's family will be doing that. That is completely up to them. Victims' families have many different conflicting ideas. They're grieving. You know, they can choose one person to make a victim impact statement. Our staff will read victim impact statements if that's what they would like. Our focus is to center them and give them the opportunity to give victim impact as they would like. If that means our help, we will do that. So that's completely up to them. Our staff, I know, had talked to them after today's verdict on the aggravating factors, and will help them through this process while they determine what they would like to see or say on March 13th.
Back to kind of domestic violence with that federal funding freeze right now.
Yes.
What are your concerns if some of these organizations don't get the funding that they're supposed to?
Yeah, the question is with the federal funding freeze, what are our concerns about what happens if these local organizations don't get money? The reality is they'll close. If they don't close, they'll have to cut down on their resources, on their ability to help people. This is critical because many people who are harmed seek help from those organizations. They may not call the police, they may not come forward, but they do seek help from those organizations to try to get a safety plan, to try to get housing, just to get support and affirmation for what they're going through. So this could create, and we do believe will create, a critical gap in services. There's already a gap in services for domestic violence survivors. There already is. We do not have enough resources. There are not enough resources in community to be able to help people in these situations. And this is just going to have a devastating impact on people who experience intimate partner violence.
What's the status of federal funding for domestic violence groups? Are they like literally waiting on checks that haven't come right now?
The question was, what's the status of domestic violence groups? Are they literally waiting on checks to come? I believe that is the case. And I know if you've been following our legislature, you saw a press conference from Representative Kelly Moeller, surrounded by victim witness advocates, talking about the dire need to have these organizations funded. So on a state level, we recognize that, and we recognize that federal funding is absolutely critical. Thank you so much.